let's talk about the podcast. So I want to talk about, let's see, I just threw a bunch of stuff out there. I want to start with the podcast, which is phenomenal, by the way. Everybody should tune in. We're going to link it in the show notes. Hitstreak is amazing. Great interviews.
Great name.
Great name. Where'd the name come from?
So baseball and music were my things, right? And you can have, if you have a hit in those, it's a good thing. And if you have a streak of hits, it's also an even better thing. So that's literally where it came from. And then we built the studio and it was like, well, we need to call it something. So we just started calling it the Hit Lab. So,
I love that.
And that's kind of how it came about. I built the studio for my podcast and to film promotional things for me and all the business owners we had invested in. And it turned into a whole monster of its own.
What do you love the most and what do you dislike the most?
What I love the most about it is the power and the influence, the good you can do with it. It's unbelievably powerful. What I dislike about it the most is the way that people use it, the way that they don't understand what you can, like the tool that you have in the palm of your hands. You know, it's like the best at anything are the ones that can do the most detailed things with those. So like, you know, obviously a sniper, one of the best snipers on earth, can do more with his rifle than an average person can, whether it's putting it together, assembling it, taking it apart, cleaning it, everything. They're going to be way more detailed and better at whatever it is that they do. And you know, billions of people are on social, my parents are on social. They're at the age where maybe they might not even need to have a smartphone. They might need a flip phone, but you know what I mean? And I'll tell a funny story about my dad. He was, because when my grandmother when she got older, you know, I never will forget when she was still in her house, she was having problems out of her cable, and she was just convinced that because the Comcast truck drove by that they did something to her cable, you know, just because they drove by. So Dad calls and he's like, Nick, you know, my phone's broke. What's wrong with your phone, Dad? He's like, it no matter what I say out loud, it types it. And I was like, well, turn off your microphone. He's like, it's turned off. I'm like, it is. I see that it's turned off. I'm like, let's go in your settings. You've obviously, he had turned on dictation and didn't know it. So everything that he said out loud was documented in his phone. It would send to somebody.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was having fun with him because he was frustrated about his phone. And I was like, hey man, did the Comcast guy drive by and mess up your phone? You know? But
That's incredible. I'm going to think about that every time I see a Comcast truck now.
It's just, but it is so powerful. And like, you know, my Instagram account reaches millions of people every 30 days. And we've learned so much about, you know, all you're trying to do, like data surpassed oil years ago as the most valuable asset on earth. And the biggest and best companies, the biggest and best brands, the most successful people, they do the most with all the data that they have. And there's no difference between the data in your CRM versus followers or an audience on Instagram, except Instagram has a feed and your CRM does not. And people understanding the tools and the assets that they're digital assets that you own and what you can do with those for a return on investment. And that was the thing for us is like, you know, if we're going to do all this on social, if I'm going to have a podcast, like my podcast is a paid platform now. So like, you know, we partner with PR companies, guests pay to be on the podcast. And we talk about it all the time. It's like, you know, of course somebody will say, hey, I got somebody great on your podcast. And I'm like, I bet you do. I bet you want my 14 staff hours. 2 of them are mine. I bet you want access to the millions of people in my audience. I bet you want access to all the digital assets and the clips we're going to make to promote that podcast. I'm sure you want to give that away. You know what I mean? But we earn the right to be able to charge for that. We've figured out what the value is based on the numbers that we reach. And we're about to start charging more because we reach more people and we've justified that. Like, you know, people pay $3,000 to be a guest on my podcast. People pay $30 to be a guest on my buddy's podcast. And he filmed 3 of them yesterday. But obviously it's worth it because they keep doing it. Right. So at the end of the day, these are digital assets. When you put time and effort into these resources, what is the return on investment? And that's why most people quit is they start a podcast. You guys know you start a podcast. He's like, dang, this is a lot more work than I thought. Right. You got to book people, edit the episodes, film it, set it all up. I mean, dude, we have like 12 people on the team that manage all this stuff for me.
So
it's a big operation. And if you give it away, eventually you give away the house and there is nothing left.
Yes, it really, people should really take this in. Always go back to your ROI. Always go back to, if you're going to do something, have a plan. You're going to pivot in that plan, but you need to understand how you're going to get it back. So
right.
I'm going to assume that that would be your sort of lead way. If someone came to you and was like, I want to do this, I want to start a podcast. Is that one of the first questions that you say to them? Do you have a plan? What's your ROI? Like what would be if someone came to you and said, I want to do what you're doing?
I would say, all right, so if it's the same way I would have the conversation, if you're going to start a business, are you going to die doing it? Is it going to go out of business? Or are you going to sell it? What's the end? And let's work backwards from there, because that's the way your GPS works. You have to type in the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
People say, Nick, it's not always true with your GPS. Sometimes you just get out and you go for a drive, but you do end up in your driveway when you're done. Right? Even if you don't know where you're driving to today, you do know the end destination. So everything works backwards from that. So when people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to start with a podcast, I'm like, well, first of all, a podcast is a much more complicated version of just posting consistently on social media. Have you mastered posting consistently on social media? They're like, yeah, man, I posted 3 times last week. I'm like, well, your competition posted 10 times a day. Right? So how are you going to keep up with that? So it's putting things in perspective. What is the outcome of what it is that you're trying to do? And we build a plan and a strategy from that with milestones and measuring things along the way. You know, if you're going to lose 100 pounds, you're not going to lose 100 pounds tomorrow. It might be one day at a time. But like, you know, can you imagine? We all went to school for 13 years, K through 12. I know Cliffy. There's no way he would have finished if he had been there for about 2 years and they didn't say, hey man, you're in first grade. He'd have been like, this is horrible. This is never going to end. You know? So that I was the same way. If you don't know where you're at in your journey, why would you keep going? You know, it's like the kids when they don't know, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Eventually they're going to give up. So
Yes.
when it comes to podcasts, social media, or anything else, if you're going to do it one time, why and what is the return on investment on that? And like, if you don't know what the return on investment is, why would you do it? Right?
That's
like
right.
if you post 100 times, how many somebody's got to make that video and post it across all the platforms. Dude, how many conversations could you have had with your kids over the course of a year for that? And there's no return on that. So it's a hobby, dude. And if I'm going to have a hobby, Cliffy and I are going to play golf.
I would love to play golf.
So you know what I mean? So if we're going to post on social and it's not my hobby, it's got to make money. It's got to have a return to justify the time I take away from my family and my business and my clients and all those other things. So, you know, this is considered entertainment. And it's a lot like baseball. Literally, like there's people sitting outside, their business is baseball, but their business is everybody else's hobby, which makes it extremely complicated. Social media for a lot of people is their hobby, right? It is their hobby. So, but if you truly want to get good at it, and if you want to learn a lot about it and you want to use it as a platform, you can be very effective with it. And it's free. You literally have a TV station in your pocket.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to sort of segue from that, that's such great advice. To segue from that, but to sort of stay on topic, I want to bring in the social media aspect and the kid aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So as a family man and as a businessman, how do you balance allowing kids to have their freedom and autonomy in the social realm by also being directive with them and be like, we don't want you to live your life in this. We want you to use it productively and also for entertainment. What's that conversation like in your household?
It's the exact same thing. So like Ethan's gonna, first of all, you know, you do things on like a schedule. So like if you brushed your teeth for 1 minute a day, 365 times, it's probably going to do some good things for you. But if you brushed your teeth once for 365 minutes and then didn't do it again, that's not going to work. So it's teaching him that this is a tool and what is the purpose of you having access to this tool and how to use it. And then if you use it responsibly, you can have more of it. So if it's a form of entertainment, great. If you were on it for 2 hours today, how much of that was intuitive and how much of that was just mindless entertainment? And again, the biggest thing as a parent is teaching your kid to make choices that are in line with what it is that they want to do. That's the greatest life skill you can master. So Ethan, my son, he's like, Dad, I want to play center field at Yankee Stadium. I'm like, cool. Well, I know 0 people that have ever done that. So, and it's out of the human population, the history of mankind, how many people have actually ever played center field at Yankee Stadium? And you can count them in one stadium, like, 10, 20, 30,000 people. So it's like, Ethan, if you're going somewhere that very few people on earth are going, that means where you go today matters to get there. If everybody else is going over there to that football game, they're not going to Yankee Stadium, dude. So you got to ask yourself, is going to that football game going to get you closer or further away to Yankee Stadium? Wherever we're at in life right now is the sum of every choice we've ever made. And we have to own that. We have to own that. So if you can get good at making choices that are like last night, we had dinner. There was a beautiful dessert on the table. It was really hard to say, no, I don't want that. But like, I'm working on something. There's somewhere I want to go. And it's like, and I got a wife and kids watching me. I got people watching me, watching everything that I do. And the haters are just dying for me to mess up. So like, I got one person on earth I can be weak to, and that's my dad. So I can call him and show him things I can't show nobody else. But for everybody else, I got to be strong. I got to be the man. And everybody needs the man in their life.
That is so true. What are your thoughts on that?
I would love to sit here and talk baseball stuff too. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about swings and, let's get some Ethan video up here. But, you guys are in such a groove right now. I'm loving it.
But
I'm proud
even as a kid, like, again, my son's learning to use it. So the internet's a loaded gun you put in your kid's hands. But again, guns have a good purpose if used properly. Okay.
Yes.
They protect. And, at the end of the day, my kid is going to be he's going to be asking somebody for a shot, whether it be on a baseball field or in a workplace or on a stage somewhere or something. And I do believe that if it's between him and somebody else and he has a crowd of influence, I believe that puts him above the next person. Because anytime you can influence and you can bring people to introduce people to something, that's powerful. Influence is power. And it's power that needs to be taken seriously, which is a problem with a lot of the mainstream media today, is they're very irresponsible with that reach and that power. Right.
Absolutely.
So, because if you think about it, like the biggest entities on the entire planet Earth own those mainstream medias, and our very own White House has kicked some of those people out and put podcasters on there. So like there's traditional media and there's new media. And new media is attention media. New media is direct contact, and there's no barriers, right? So, and it's quick and it's very powerful. So I want my kids to know how to use that. I want them to know how to use AI. AI, as people think it's cheating. Well, like again, I've got Jensen sitting over here. Jensen's only as good as I can teach him to be. AI is the exact same thing. You are the boss of the AI. So again, if an expert on building homes can use AI to build a better home. But if you've never built a home before, AI is not going to teach you how to build that better home. It's going to build you a home, right? Yes. So there's an architect that has to design the AI.
That's so true. And it's the productivity and the efficiency, right? It's coming from your brain. You are teaching it how to conform to what you want it to do. And then the efficiency flows. I mean, when I opened up the AI door, I was like, I got to get on this because I'm missing the bandwagon here. And when I did, I was like, wow, it's a whole new world of discovery, how you can use it and be effective and efficient and save time with it too. But you're right. You are the architect of it. So it's not cheating. It's making life easier for us.
All right. So
it definitely collapses time, building out business models for entities. You can build it out one way and it's like, but I actually want to launch it this way, and it'll spit out a whole different rendition of it. So, it's kind of like if you want to go out and poll 100 people right now, that would take some time. I can poll chat GPT in about 5 minutes, 100 times. You know what I mean? So it just expedites everything. But remember, all AI is doing is scraping basic information from a source wherever you programmed it from. So if you're using like a cheap editing software to edit stuff for social media, it's scraping the file that you told it to scrape from. If you're using a chat GPT, it's just scraping the internet. But guess what? The internet changed since I started talking to you today. People have added to it. So you're going to keep getting different results. The internet is endless.
It is.
Yeah, but about 6 months ago, she's like, "Hey, why don't you, have one of your scouting reports? Just do it with ChatGPT or AI." I'm like, "Babe, like they won't need me to scout. I mean, what are you talking about? I don't want to give away my My secret sauce. What
Oh,
I'm
You can
secretly-
be you can be the most effective scout to use AI first, and then all of a sudden there's a new level. I always think there's a new level of hierarchy that's dying to be discovered. So there's always a new person at the top, a new place at the top that can open up if you can create new revenue streams or new return on investment.
Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe for more, and visit nickhyder.com.